Hello. How's everybody? It's about as far as you can go. Just don't need a piece of red tape here, Mr. Bruno. Welcome everybody. And we have a lot of special guests today, and it's good to see a lot of members from my operating committee. We have several key members from the cast group. Our alumni is here. It's good to see them. Didn't have anything to do with the note I sent out, did it? By any chance? No. Good to see you guys. Always good to see you. And at the end of the session, please feel free to talk to some of the alumni. They are, let's see, I can tell you right now, Malone, Kent, Akron, Walsh, I may, and I'm probably missing some other schools. Working at West Medical, so please talk to them. These are your friends. They're only out of here a year, 2 years, 3 years. Zach, I guess you and Alec are the first class, right? Yeah, first graduating class. Alec Milnes and Zach Helfer are here. Welcome back. So, last session, we had what I thought was a wonderful session. I want you to give us some feedback. We had the young professionals from Stark County. I think we had 11 or 12, Marcia, right? 12. Ms. Marcia Cussin set it up. What did you guys think of that speed career networking session? Amelia's shaking her head. Yeah, good. Tell me some of the best things about that session. Yes, Amelia. It was really personal. And that was it was 8 minutes, right? 8 minutes at each table. And by the way, I read all the feedback. I have all the feedback here. And there were one or two that said, hey, too short, you know? And there was others that said just right, and there was others that said we need some more time, and we're going to work on that for 2018. We're going to invite that group back. There was a dynamic group of young professionals in Stark County, and that is really, that's a group that we want to use more and utilize more for careers. Anybody else? What was good about it? Yes, Maddie. The variety, whole different professions. I think we had, of the 12 people, I think we had 11 different career paths. I think 2 were engineering. Other than that, they were different careers, so that was pretty cool. I'll read you a couple. It was interesting and made me more aware of all the options available to me. More time and less stations would have made it more enjoyable. It felt rushed. Opened my eyes to new careers. I learned a lot about what's actually out there and a taste of how many doors could be open. I got a lot of college information, and it seems 8 minutes wasn't enough. I enjoyed it a lot. It opened my mind to job fields I wouldn't have considered for myself. And that was one of the key things that we were trying to do. A lot of what camp does is expose you to different careers. So many times, Mr. Bruner and I have these discussions constantly. So many students put all their eggs in one basket when they're ready to graduate. One basket meaning, I'm going for this career, nothing else. I'm going to this school, no other school, and it's do or die. And guess what happens many times? It's the die side of the equation. And exposing you to careers, getting you to apply to different colleges, taking you to different colleges to see what's out there. getting you to think about the costs of the highest schools, whether it's a Malone, Walsh, Mount Union, and the least expensive schools being, something like a Youngstown State or a Kent or an Akron. So that's what we're all about. Because in life, one of the major reasons you will be successful or not is that you have what I call contingencies. And the more contingencies you have in your life, the more successful you're going to be. That's both personally and professionally. Okay? You never went in to solve a problem without having a backup plan. Some people call it a plan B. I call it contingencies. So that's what we try to do, expose you to as much as you can. You know we press on you to have a major and a minor. And we impress on you, if you want to be an archaeologist, fine, that's great. If you want to be a NASA astronaut, that is absolutely great. But we're going to keep pressing on you that we'd like you to minor in IT. And we got Mr. Sage back here who ran IT for Akron University, and he's going to get up and tell you that there's 8,000 jobs in IT in Northeast Ohio. And those jobs start at $40,000 and they go up, and you can make as much as $100,000, and he's going to preach to you. But there's a reason we're doing that. And he's going to tell you that IT is great because if you want to, if you're a woman and you want to have a family and you do not want to go back to a workplace or an office, guess what a great career path is to have? Guess where you can work anywhere in the entire world out of your home? IT. So we're going to lay that out and we're going to keep pounding you with it because we want to avoid one choice, one goal, and then the possibility of potential disappointment. All right? I want you to dream big, I want you to dream realistic at the same time. Okay, you'll hear more about young professionals. Ms. Cousins and I are meeting with the Young Professionals group this week. We're going to have a thank you breakfast and lunch. We're going to get their feedback. We want to see what they want to do with us. Okay, we're looking at shadowing. We're looking at potential volunteer options. We're even going to look to ask them for jobs for the summer. There's a lot of important things that can come out of our relationship with the young professionals of Stark County. So stay tuned. All right. I am very excited about our session today. And does everybody have their phones off? Phones shut off? If not, please do it. Shut them down. Everybody's got their pad folios and a pen. And you got some workbooks in front of you that we're going to explain to you in a minute, but get ready to take notes. Want to make sure you pay attention and ask questions. Okay? So what you're going to hear about today is called TOPUCU. Who knows what TOPUCU is? Mariana. The only person who cheated is you. She's reading it right off the thing, right? You are so smart. That is why you're up front. You know what? Next time you should sit back a little. Some of those people who don't know what it is, they should be up front here. You know, you're too smart. Great job. All right, the only person who cheated is you. And to explain the program, very exciting. This is the creator, the owner, the president of the corporation, Norm Rutland. Please come up. Welcome, Norm, please.
You all hear me? Yeah. Yes, no? I cannot be confined to that area. It would be bad. Plus, I won't be able to spit on anybody up here in the front row, so it's my favorite thing to do. All right, so good. You can hear me in the back, right, John? You guys are good? Everybody hear me? No?
Just go up a little bit.
All right.
You're good.
All right, so TOPUCU, the only person that cheated is you. We're going to learn about that today, and you guys are going to go through the program. The whole idea of TOPUCU is basically to help us answer the universal question. What's the universal question? Ready, Tim? There it is, sorry. Universal question, how do you get yourself to do what you don't want to do to become what you want to become? There's also a universal answer. The universal answer is two horrible words. The words are self-discipline. We're all going to play this game called life. Now, you can cash out if you want to, it'd be a bad idea, right? But we're all going to play this game called life. And the game called life, you need to make decisions that will actually determine whether you're going to be successful or not. Now, I'm not talking success like money. I'm not talking success, it could be money, but I'm not talking success just in that area. I'm talking success being that you win this game called life. And there's certain principles I learned that helped me eventually win this game called life. And are any of you like ranked number 4 in your class? 4 or above? Anybody? Okay, good job. You guys are the top or bottom? Oh, the top? Okay, I was number 4 from the bottom of my high school class. I worked really, really hard in high school. I was raised on the west side of Cleveland, graduated from high school in 1968, so obviously, if you do the math, I had my 50th year class reunion this year, so I am 68 years old, like it or not. And my grandkids like it, all 16 of them. And so I worked really hard at being number 4 in my high school class. I mean, I really did. I'd go to Edgewater Beach, we'd party. I was one of the top garagers in the west side of Cleveland. Anybody here a good garager? Anybody here pretty good at garaging? Y'all know what garaging is? It's because my generation wrecked it for you guys. People lock their garages nowadays. We used to go in and steal all their stuff. So I was a good garager, got in a lot of trouble. My older brother's been in prison 4 times, my younger brother twice. My dad was a raving alcoholic, raised in poverty. I was sent home my high school year. In my sophomore year, I got sent home because I was wearing what they called back then, they were called clam diggers. Today, you guys would call them capris, right? So was I wearing clam diggers? Was I wearing capris? No, I grew like 4 to 5 inches in like a 1 to 1.5 month period, and my parents couldn't afford more pants. So I got sent home for wearing the wrong kind of pants until Grandpa Mater finally came and bought me a pair of pants. So I was able to go back to school. My point very simply is this. Raised in a challenging situation, did horrible in school, and so as a result, my life was trending the wrong direction. Would you agree? Until I learned that if you can learn to do that, you have a chance to win this game. So on the next slide, we talk about, most people believe that winners win, losers lose. Winners win because they do all the things that losers don't do. Well, I'm here to tell you that's a bunch of garbage, because I was a loser, raised by losers, in a generation of losers, because I was never taught how the game is played. And you know, it's wonderful if you're playing on that field. The game of life on that field would be fun, wouldn't it? Well, the next slide is going to show you that here's the reality, most people don't play on that field, they play on that field. And that's the field I was playing on until in the mid-70s and my mid-20s, I started trying to figure out how this game of life is played. And I found out that there were certain key core principles that if you learn those principles, you could transform your life. So you're all going to get a little test right now. What I'd like you all to do is pick a number in your brain between 1, don't tell me what it is, between 1 and 9. No zeros. Everybody got your number? Multiply it times 3. Everybody should be with me, right? Add 3 to that number. Everybody with me? Now, this one, I needed a calculator, paper, pens, a mathematician, and everything else, but maybe you can figure this one out on your own. Whatever number you have now, multiply it times 3. You need to use a calculator, go for it. Some are good at math, some aren't. I wasn't. You all have a 2-digit number now, don't you? Now, what I want you to do is I want you to add the first digit to the second digit. And if you did the math right, your number is 99999999999. You should all have 9. Because it's a universal principle. I don't care if you pick 3. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 3 is 12, times 3 is 36. 3 plus 6 is 9. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 3 is 24, times 3 is 72. 7 plus 2 is 9. Doesn't matter how you did it, if you did the math right, it's always 9, because there are certain universal principles that you're applying right now, by the way, by being part of this group. But there are certain principles that if you take those principles, you can transform your life. Next slide. So, for most of us, the playing field isn't fair. You can only be a winner if you were taught how the game is played and what the rules are. Winners win, losers lose. That's true. But it's only fair if you're taught how the game is played. Next slide. So I don't care whether it's education, vocation, starting a career, fitness. Next slide. It always boils down to self-discipline, which is the correction or regulation of oneself for the sake of improvement. See, I didn't say external discipline. I didn't say you don't do your homework and you get a detention. I didn't say external discipline like you don't do something properly and your parents take away your phone. Self-discipline, the ability to do what you don't want to do to become what you want to become, is what's going to separate you. And again, I'm kind of speaking to the choir right now because you already are all doing that. You're doing things that are above and beyond what most kids are doing. Next slide. So look, here's 100% of the population. There's a portion that have been mentored, educated, and trained. And as a result, they have an opportunity to actually win this game called life. There's a next portion that is just basically never been mentored, which thankfully you are being mentored, which is a big, huge thing for your lives, whether you realize it now or not. But they've been educated and trained. There's a next group that have only been trained. See, when I first embarked out into my illustrious career after doing really, really bad in school, where do you think I went to work? I went to work at McDonald's. It's the only job I could get. I went to work at McDonald's. But I did have a guy, Mr. David, that kind of taught me a couple principles about life, and I started being trained. But before that, I was basically part of the uninformed and underserved. I was part of that 50% of the population that's never been mentored, never been educated, never been trained, never been taught how this game of life is played. And if you don't know the rules, and if you don't know what it takes to succeed, it's hard to win the game. Make sense? Next slide. So it always boils down to self-discipline. When it's all said and done, it boils down to you rapid fire again. So the you to us is TOPUCU. The only person who cheat is you. What is TOPUCU? TOPUCU is a program to transform lives. Next slide. Our mission statement: to equip people with principles to identify and change habits, make better decisions, manage their time, develop a clear vision and goals to ultimately transform their lives. So, do people suffer with bad habits? We all suffer with bad habits. Let me ask you a question. How many of you brushed your teeth this morning? Okay, good, most of you. Some of you didn't. I really feel bad about that. I'm glad to buy you a toothbrush. When you brushed your teeth this morning, and you have a habit, right? You have a habit of brushing your teeth. Did you get up and you said, wow, I should probably brush my teeth. How do I do that again? Toothbrush. That's right, toothbrush. You grab your toothbrush, and then you stand there in front of the mirror, you look at the toothbrush, and you go, what's next? Toothpaste. Okay, now we're cruising, right? Okay, now you sit there for a while trying to figure out what you're supposed to do next. Water. Yeah, water. Now what do I do? Put the brush in your mouth. Now what do I do? You don't do that. You instinctively just brush your teeth. You don't think about it. It's just a good habit. There are bad habits that we do instinctively. There's a couple examples up there. Next slide. So, what makes TOPUCU different? And you're doing this, so this is kind of fun for me because I'm kind of preaching to the choir right now. You're already all doing something above and beyond what your peers are doing. But when it comes to transformation and what makes TOPUCU the only person who teaches you work is there's 3 components for somebody to transform and become the person you want to become. And yet almost all human beings only use 2 of the 3 components. And as a result, they don't change a bad habit. So the 3 components are this. We'll start with number 2. How many of you decided that you're going to do something, you're kind of younger, but maybe you have, or maybe you haven't had a New Year's resolution? When you, the new year, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get better grades, I'm going to do this or do that, whatever it is. Now you embark off onto that journey, and you now have this, you have this emotional thing that's taking place, and you're now going to go transform, like maybe getting in shape. So I'm going to get in shape. So you get in shape, that's an emotional thing that took place. And then you join a gym, that's an action that took place. Transformation can only take place long term, where a bad habit is transformed into a good habit if you learn to change the way you think. And TOPUCU is a program that makes bells go off in your head. Am I done? Is that my time out? Get them out of here, bring them on. So TOPUCU basically is a program that teaches you how to think. It's a program that teaches you principles to learn how to think. Because in the mid-1970s, when I was in my mid-20s, I finally decided I should quit being an idiot and a jerk. 235 out of 238 in high school. Little McDonald's gig, straight off to the military. United States Army for 2 years, Vietnam for a year, 3 days, 2 hours, 24 minutes, and 10 seconds. I really don't know. I just know it's more than a year. You come back from that, now I'm going to go get a job because I'm highly qualified. Everywhere I went, it was amazing to me. People would say, is there any chance that you were in the bottom 5% of your high school class? And I'd say, I was. Unbelievable. They say, that's exactly what we're looking for. Any chance you humped a radio with the 25th Infantry in Vietnam? I said, unbelievable. I'm your guy. I did really horrible in school, and I carried a radio in Vietnam. You know, and everywhere I went, they wanted to give me a job. So the job I picked out of all those job offers I had, being facetious here a little bit, was a garbage collector. So from 1971 to 1972, I was a garbage collector. I was a good garbage collector. I had a right-hand toss and a left-hand throw. Benefits are pretty good. It's all you can eat, so it wasn't bad. Not out the back of the truck. Stop at a restaurant and get you a sandwich. So I was a garbage collector. And then I became a firefighter paramedic. I'll tell you more about the story there. I became a firefighter paramedic. Did that for 6 years. Then I formed a little local moving company my days off. And then I ended up opening and finding about wealth management. How do you teach people how to invest money and all that stuff? So I started doing some of that. Next thing I knew, all the principles that you're going to learn through TOPUCU all started gelling inside this brain, because I started understanding that if you apply these universal principles, 3 times 3 plus 3 times 3, it doesn't matter. If you apply the principles, you have an opportunity to win this game called life. As a result of 3 years part-time, firefighter full-time, part-time, this is not a braggadocious thing, I'm just telling you, the Rolex is real, so things worked out pretty good. I now have a company that has 91 offices and 1,400 employees, and my company manages $1.5 billion of assets. Why? And is that success? That is not success. That's financial success, which means nothing. Success to me is my 5 kids and my 16 grandkids. Success to me is what I've been blessed to do with the assets that came in from that company. But my point is this. All I had to do was learn how to control this thing to make this thing do what it didn't want to do to become what it wants to become. Am I making sense? So TOPUCU is going to teach you these principles. Next slide. We're going to go through and teach you what a habit is and how to change it. How to stay motivated while you do it. We're going to teach you about pain. Pain is a good thing if it's used the proper way. Control your thinking. We're going to talk about visualization. This visualization is important. You think different, feel different, then you act different. Feeling is part of transformation. Then you have to use your time properly, and you have to go through it. You have to be totally committed to it. And we're going to give you some techniques to stay totally committed to this change that you're going to make in your life. TOPUCU is not the end all. TOPUCU is the beginning. Look, I happen to do CrossFit. You're going to hear from Kim Williams later, who's our Chief Business Development Officer, who ran 14 departments in 5 hospitals, has a master's degree, and came from a situation that's probably maybe where some of you maybe came from or worse. I'll let her tell you about that a little bit. But she figured it out. And as a result, had that career, but she actually in 2013 was ranked number 18 in the country in the CrossFit Games. Ever heard of the CrossFit Games? Do not mess with her. My point very simply is this. I do CrossFit. She actually still owns a gym. I do CrossFit. I don't just walk in and do the workout of the day. I warm up, I stretch, I get ready to do the heavy lifting. TOPUCU is not the end all for you. TOPUCU is just basically the beginning for you. It's just going to help you do things that you don't want to do to become what you want to become. That's all it is. It's a program that's going to help you think different. Make sense? So that's what it is. All right, so I'm going to teach you lessons 1 and 2, kind of rapid fire. How many of you can read? Half of you, that's wonderful, okay? Tom, we got some work to do. Half of them can't even read yet. So we got to talk about the reading part. How many of you can read? All right, you all can read, right? So lessons 1 and 2 are in your book. I'm going to teach you what lessons 1 and 2 are. Then Kim's going to come up and teach you about what's called the finisher program. Henry Ford said, thinking is one of the hardest things you can do. That's why so few people do it. We're going to teach you to think. And you might as well close your books because it's not going to help you when I go through it. I'm just going to teach you principles, and then you guys can read. That's my whole point there. You guys can read lessons 1, read lessons 2 on your own after we're all done today. Lesson 1 is called, Why Do I Keep Doing That? Why do I keep doing that? It's very simply, how do you change a bad habit? Here's what a habit is. A habit is 3 components. It's a mathematical formula. It's 3 parts to a habit. It is what is the craving or trigger that has the desire for a reward or satisfaction. Bridging those 2 components is one key word. If you can learn to manage this word for the rest of your life, you will always be able to control a bad habit. But you have to learn to control the one word. And you learn to control the one word through those 2 words we had up there, which were self-discipline, right? Get yourself to do what you don't want to do to become what you want to become. The one key word in changing a bad habit to a good habit, the trigger or the craving, to the desire for the reward or satisfaction. In 1994, I'm 45 years old. I retire a multi-millionaire at 45. Still have the company. It'd be crazy to get rid of the company. There's 2 wonderful words that hopefully some of you will learn about somewhere down the road. The words are residual income. You're not there anymore, money keeps coming in. So I retire in 94, and I'm home at night now. My whole life I've been out, working extra hours and doing this and opening offices and across Canada and over in, Kitchener and Chatham and Windsor and, all with St. Thomas and London, and I've got them all over Ohio and, et cetera, et cetera. I got 91 offices now. I'm going to retire. So I'm 45. I developed a new habit. My habit was this. I would be home at night, and I was so excited about being home. I would take a paper towel, and I would tri-fold this paper towel. And I would put it in this hand, kind of like Jay Pazier. So kind of like this. I kind of have it like that. And I'd go to my freezer, and I would open up my freezer. And I would get my pint of Ben & Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. And I'd slap that cold thing in this hand and that paper towel, and I would pop the lid. I'd grab my spoon. I am a finisher, by the way, so I would finish the whole pint every night. This is awesome. It was really great. About 2 months later, this wasn't this was this. Now I created a new habit, didn't I? I looked at my wife and I said, this retirement thing isn't working with me. She goes, no, that bag of Cheetos and that pint of Ben & Jerry's isn't working for you. I had to change my habit. My desire for ice cream has never subsided. My name is Norm Mulder. I am an ice cream-aholic. Okay? My wife has to scoop my ice cream because otherwise it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So long story short, I had to control that one key word that will help you radically transform your life, that'll take you from a craving or a trigger over to this reward or satisfaction. That one key word is the word routine. He or she who controls the routine will learn to control your life. I've had dinner with John Maxwell a couple times. I'm not going to say he's a friend, he's an acquaintance. I could call him. I don't know if he'd answer, but I think he would. And John always taught me, he's one of the big authors in leadership development. He says, look, the key to success is basically two things. What is your daily agenda and what is your daily discipline? Discipline is always controlled by you controlling the routine. Habits are stored in your basal ganglia. It's about this big. It sits at the base of your brain. They know that's true because they've done electronic impulse studies on the basal ganglia. And they know that when you're doing something that's new, foreign, and different that you haven't done before, there's a lot of electronic activity in your basal ganglia. For example, how many of you have driven somewhere an hour to somewhere new that you've never been before, and even with GPS today, you're driving there and it seems like, man, am I ever going to get there? Oh, you know, turn left here. Oh, I didn't know, is that the road? And you finally get there, you do whatever it is you're going to do. Now you drive back. And when you get home, you almost always say to yourself, wow, I got home so much faster. Unless you were speeding, you didn't get home faster. You only got home faster because the basal ganglia fires off discomfort when you're doing something new and foreign that causes pain in your brain. But when you come home, it seems faster because there's less discomfort. Now drive that exact same route for the 50th time. And what do you say when you get there? Well, I remember driving here. Maybe if some of you drove here, you might be saying the same thing right now because you've driven to this school, you know, numerous times. The more you do it, the more your basal ganglia becomes aware of it and the less discomfort you have. So to change a habit, you can't stop that craving or trigger at the beginning. You can adjust it down the road. That reward or satisfaction might be different. I have different snacks that I do now versus ice cream. When I do ice cream, I typically almost always do sugar-free, unless I get the grandkids. You know, I say to the grandkids, I say, you guys want ice cream tonight, right? Grandkids always say yes. It's amazing. I always get to go to Mitchell's all the time. It blows me away. They've never once told me no. So you control a routine by controlling you control a habit by controlling the routine. Does that make sense? So in lesson number 1, you're going to learn the components of a habit, how the basal ganglia works. You're going to learn how to control that, and you're going to learn how to start, when Kim teaches you how to write your mission statement and goals, you're going to learn how to actually then create a program that will develop a routine that will help you move from a bad habit to a good habit. Lesson number 2, you're going to learn what we call, what are the odds? What are the odds? Very simply is this. If I'm going to change a bad habit, which is almost always a very uncomfortable thing to do, because the basal ganglia is firing off all this discomfort, then I better understand the principles of motivation. And there's 2 types of motivation. One is wonderful and feels great, and one doesn't but works. So how many of you have done something where somebody came up and gave you a pat in the back and said, wow, good job, way to go? That's external motivation. We all like that, don't we? It's temporary and fleeting. It's here for a second and gone tomorrow. That's why you'll see so many people that will embark in a routine change to change a habit, and when they do that, there's always pats in the back. Wow, you're doing so good, but eventually when you're there, you're there. They're not going to, wow, you took that 25 pounds off, way to go. But, eventually it goes away. External is fleeting. The only motivation that will take you to where you want to be, to win this game called life, is internal motivation. Internal motivation, based on my definition, what you'll read in the book, is what are you doing when nobody's watching? That's internal motivation. If I can stay internally motivated, and if I can understand the 3 components of motivation, then I can control my brain to make my feelings and emotions make this body do what it doesn't want to do to become what it wants to become. Like maybe being here on a Sunday afternoon, which you are, right? Do the things you don't want to do. I'm not saying you don't want to be here, I'm just saying you have some discomfort versus your peers who are home sleeping right now. There's 3 components of motivation. So you're all going to do me a favor. And I want you to, because when you do me this favor, you're going to lock this visual inside your brain. And we learn a lot more visually than we do the other ways, correct? So do me a favor. Put your hands out like they're scales. Pretend they're scales. You all know how scales work, right? In this scale over here, you have 2 components. You have what is the payoff and what are my odds of achieving that payoff. And in this scale over here, you have those 2 horrible words, not self-discipline, 2 other horrible words, hard work. Okay, thanks for doing that. Whenever you are motivated or not motivated, you have used all 3 components of those motivational scales. Now again, I figured a lot of this stuff out by reading tons of books. You're going to have to read like 47 pages to learn these principles that took me like, I'm going to tell you literally probably 50 to 80 books of 200 to 300 pages. They always put all that junk in there so it really means nothing. So, I'm not going to do this, so don't get excited. But if I said to you, if you went outside and walked a mile and you came back, I would give you a crisp $100 bill, would you do it? Not going to do it, but would you do it? Well, you do it, right? You just did the scales. You do the motivation scales in your brain all the time, you're just not aware of it. I'm going to teach you, the program is going to teach you how to manage the motivational scales so that you can get yourself to do what you don't want to do. Because when you're not motivated, there's always a missing ingredient. I actually did 9th grade algebra. I did pretty good at it. Here's what I learned. I learned that if you have 3 components in algebra and 1 component is missing, you can figure it out by using the other 2 components. It was amazing to me. It was like, if I have 1 plus x equals 3, even I was able to figure out that x equals 2. You can even have 1 plus 2 equals x. Even I figured out that was 3. And x plus 2 equals 3. Even I figured out x was 1. Isn't that amazing? And that's about how farther I got in algebra, by the way, but I did figure that out. You have the exact same math going on in the scales. You've got 3 components. If you're not motivated to do something you know you should do, one of those components is screwed up. Now, when I gave you the example, a mile for 100, what was the payoff? $100. What was the hard work I asked you to do? A mile. What were your odds of success? 100%. So you were motivated. Now, Tom was giving me permission to do this one, and I'm very grateful that he is. But if any of you will go out and do 5 miles, I will cut you a check for $5,000. As long as you're back in 20 minutes. Anybody ready? Legs. I said, walk, run, or whatever. Driving a bike would be good, but I'd lose a lot of money that way. That's an example. I took you to the zenith of motivation for a second, and I deflated you because the world record is 21 minutes and 9 seconds. Never going to take a chance on losing $5,000 if the world record holder's in my room, right? You do the motivation scales in your brain all the time. I'm just telling you, you need to learn to manage them. I'm going to tell you how to manage motivation so you can get yourself to do what you don't want to do. Here's my belief. I don't think most human beings are lazy slugs. There are some. But I think even most lazy slugs would do hard work if they really believed that there was a payoff. I think they would. So here's what screws up most people. Almost all people fail because of these 2 things. They do a little bit of hard work, and they determine either number 1, when they're going to receive the payoff, or number two, where they're going to receive the payoff. See, in 1971, and I'll end with this because I know I'm about right on 20 minutes and two tenths, right? Not getting fired, am I? Okay.
Good happen.
Could happen, but so hopefully not. This is mine. All right, so here's the deal. 1971. 22 years old. I'm back from Vietnam, looking for a job, married, one kid, got a jalopy car, got a beat up efficiency apartment. Y'all know what efficiency is, right? It's got a little kitchenette over here, little bathroom over here, and a thing called a Murphy bed that falls out of the wall. And we had a little crib for our 1.5-year-old. It should have been in a youth bed by then, but I couldn't afford it. So I get the job as a garbage collector, and I learned a principle. I learned that if you put in the hard work and you sow, and you don't determine when, so you sow here, and you know if you sow, it's impossible not to reap. There's a law called the law of reciprocity. Reciprocity is reciprocation. Reciprocation is when it's impossible to do something here and not have something happen over here. It could be bad, or it could be good. And I was learning the principle because when I became a garbage collector, I decided to be a really good garbage collector. Why? Because I needed gas for my car, milk, and food for my family. I need to be able to pay my rent on my efficiency. So I ended up really working pretty hard as a garbage collector. Everybody's like, you got to slow down, you're working too hard. And I said, I don't want to lose the job. I'm the new guy. Well, in October of 1971, a few months after I started, the city I was working for bought its first leaf truck. Now you guys know what leaf trucks are, right? Because you see them in the street all the time. They go around, suck the leaves up off the tree lawns. Well, this city of about 2,000 homes bought its first truck in 1971. And who do you think got the job working all those extra hours it was going to take in order to suck up all those leaves in that city? The two oldest, laziest, most seniority workers in the entire service department got that job. Who do you think they picked to work the back of the truck? The 22-year-old crazy guy that didn't know he wasn't supposed to be working hard as a garbage collector. And I ended up working really, really hard in the back of the leaf truck because I still didn't want to lose my job, right? But all of a sudden I found out, wow, the harder I worked, the luckier I got. But luck isn't luck. Luck is determined when preparation meets opportunity. If you're prepared and an opportunity comes along, it seems like luck, but it's not luck. So next thing I know, I go from garbage truck to leaf truck. When the leaves are finally all done, one truck, 2,000 homes in February of '72, I get on the asphalt crew. Next thing I know, that summer, somebody comes to me, actually Johnny Leilbach, the service director, comes to me and says, you work too hard to be working at the service department. You work too hard to be here. You need to take the fire test to become a firefighter paramedic in a suburb on the west side of Cleveland. I take the test, I pass the test, become a firefighter paramedic. Next thing I know, I'm working for a moving company my days off. I have a customer say to me, you work too hard to be working for them. You need to get your own thing going. I start my own moving company. Next thing I know, I move a guy. 1975. Guy says to me, you work too hard to be a firefighter, local moving guy. You need to get into my company, Wealth Management. And from 1976, back to that mentoring, education, and training, that guy, John Leschek, mentored and trained me for 3 straight years on wealth management. See, I knew all about wealth management when he made that offer to me. I mean, I was married, had 3 kids by then, and I actually had a house by then, a mortgage. And here's what I knew about wealth management. My last paycheck had just come in. I kind of paid some of my bills, got some food, paid the mortgage, and I had $10 left. I bought a basketball. I know all about using money. I knew nothing about money, but 3 years later, I knew enough to leave the fire department. I knew enough to, by a year after that, start my own company. I started learning enough to buy, like I told you, 1994, had 91 offices, etc. My point very simply is this. If there's you plus 9 other people that are competing for almost anything in life, and you're of the basic same talent and ability, excuse my words, you can beat the crap out of them by just outworking them. You can always beat your peers by outworking them. What separates those that win the game from life, that those that lose a game of life, is those that win the game learn to work hard. And when you work hard, you tip the scales in your favor. It's impossible to work hard and not have better odds. It's impossible. But don't predetermine where the results are going to come from, and don't predetermine when they're going to come. Because if you just said to me, working hard as a garbage collector, someday I'd own a company that's worth about a bunch of money, multi-millions, it's privately held, so I almost told you what it was worth, but I'm not going to. So you put in the hard work, odds have to go up, and you're one step closer to your goals. Make sense? Everybody with me? So lesson 1 teaches you how to control this thing to make this thing do, and this thing do what it doesn't want to do, by understanding that all you control is your routine. Lesson 2, as you read it, is going to teach you how to manage your motivation and your scales. Make sense? Now Kim's going to teach you what you're going to be working on as you learn these principles that, again, are universal principles. If I do this, oh, sorry. What is that called? It's gravity. So how many times do I do this until the book hovers in the air? When's it going to hover? If it hovers, we have a problem, okay? There are universal principles that work. If you apply the principles, you can transform your life. If you're going to do that, it can't just be theory and concept. It has to be something that you put into practical application. That's what Kim's going to teach you about. She's going to teach you about the back part of the program, which is how to build a mission statement, a declaration of who you want to be, and your lifetime goals, what you're going to do to become the person of your mission statement. Like I said earlier, Kim's got a huge history, master's degree, and I don't know if you'll have time to tell your story, but...
I'll just take a couple minutes, but hi guys, thanks for having me. Hey, before we do that, let's go, you guys have little cheat sheets and study guides here. Let's see all of this stuff you heard in Norm's presentation. Let's see how much you guys were paying attention, okay? So who can tell me what TOPUCU stands for? Can you hear me? Okay. Who can tell me what TOPUCU stands for? We're going to quiz you a little bit here. All right, awesome. Okay. Then what component of a habit needs to change in order to eliminate a bad habit? Routine. Awesome. All right, we'll try this out here. All right, and then TOPUCU helps you figure out how to do the things you don't want to do to. Who can finish that sentence? Teaches you how to do the things you don't want to do to become who you want to become. Excellent. All right. Lesson 2, what component of the motivation scale is necessary to increase your odds of success? Think of the motivation scale, where Norm had you put your hands out on the motivation scale. What's on one side? Odds of success, and what are my payoff? What determines how successful you are on the other side? Hard work, exactly. The harder you work, the greater your odds of success. What type of motivation is needed for long-term success? And I think that's what you were answering. Internal, exactly. And then luck is determined when preparation meets opportunity. Great. And name something, oh, this is something you can do on your own, but name something that you'll do to keep yourself internally motivated. Okay, so briefly, my name is Kim Williams. I currently live in Grafton, Ohio, married, 3 kids, 2 big fat yellow labs that are about 120 pounds apiece that just like babies. My background, I grew up, my mother was married and divorced 3 times, went through some, step parents that aren't always the best. We had to learn how to mesh with each other. Poor, unlike Norm, I graduated a little bit higher in my class, but that's because I threw myself into my studies, because that's what I chose with my environment the way it was, physical and emotional abuse in my family. My getting back was, I had this vision of where I was going, and the only way to do that, to get there and determine my future, was to throw myself into my studies. So I stayed in my room, did my studies, and got better grades, because I knew if I wanted to go on to nursing school, which is something that I always wanted to do, then I needed to have good grades, and my odds of success of getting accepted into nursing school were higher if I had a higher grade point average. So I had planned, I actually got accepted when I was a junior in high school, but didn't end up going even though I was accepted, because I ended up moving out of my house early, getting out of that environment, creating my own environment, my own family. So starting off as a nursing assistant for many years before I could afford to put myself through nursing school. So we all have different diverse backgrounds, and a lot of times we are not in control of those backgrounds as children and teenagers. But what is the one thing that we are in control of? How we react and respond to that environment. So mine was, I couldn't control the environment I was in, that I lived in, but I knew that I could get out of that environment if I applied myself. And like I said, I applied myself to my studies. So went on, graduated from nursing school in '97, worked at the bedside for a while, and actually went back to one of the places that I worked as a nursing assistant and became the director of nursing a few years later. So I have always wanted to be in an environment where I could affect the biggest change and help people and policies change. So I stayed at the bedside for a while, critical care and emergency nursing, because I'm a person that likes to be challenged in all aspects of my life. So there, it's a constant challenge, especially in the ER. You don't know what's coming in each day. So I took that. I had set my goals on being higher administration. So I worked hard at the job I was at. I ended up being a supervisor for the entire hospital, was recognized because I worked hard, I knew my job well, became a manager over emergency department, quickly became 2 departments, and then worked hard at that job. Director position became available, and who did they pick? The person that they knew was working hard and doing their job every day, and I was qualified. In the meantime, I got my bachelor's and I got my MBA. So I had my sight set high and did the work in the background. As Norm said, luck is determined when preparation meets opportunity. I did not get lucky to get those higher positions. I did the work in the background, preparing for when that opportunity became available. Does that make sense? I loved sports, but I was not the most gifted athlete. I worked hard. Played in middle school, high school. I was cut from the volleyball team, even though I played well in the tryouts, but there's this nepotism, and one of the teachers' kids got selected for the team, even though she didn't play well. So that's, again, I threw myself into my studies, and I did not try out for sports again at that time until later in my life. But who's the well-known basketball player that was cut from the high school basketball team and went on to the NBA? Does anybody know who that is? Michael Jordan, right? So he could have been internally demotivated, right? Because he was cut from the basketball team. But he had a vision of becoming this great basketball player. So he kept himself internally motivated, because external motivation wasn't there. He was actually demotivated, right? By being cut. But he didn't give up. He had this vision and created this plan and worked hard, and eventually he became one of the greatest players ever in the NBA, right? Was that luck? No, he worked hard to get where he went. He had this vision, right? But also created a plan. So one of the other, was it Will Rogers, said a vision without a plan. Does anybody know what a vision without a plan is called? A dream or a hallucination, right? So we're going to teach you in the finisher program how to create that plan. I don't like being stuck back there. All right, so in the finisher program, we're going to show you how to take that vision and write it down and create a plan, because just to say you want to do it doesn't mean that it's going to happen, right? So as Norm said just briefly, and I mentioned a few minutes ago that I like to be challenged in all aspects of my life. Love fitness, and I get into the craziest things just to prove to myself that I can do it. There's no ends, even though I'm a little older. So I did, heard about the CrossFit Games, probably it was back in 2010, knew that I wanted to eventually make it to the CrossFit Games. First year I tried out, you had to be top 20 in the world in the Masters division. I was 30. And there was probably 2,000 people at the time that I was competing against. The next year I finished 27th, and there's probably 5,000 people, right? So I had to keep working hard. I knew what I had to do. I knew I had to work harder, train in all aspects. I had to eat better. I had to give up a lot of things. And then it was the third year, I made it to actually 15th in the world and was privileged to be able to compete against the top 20 in the world at the CrossFit Games. So my point being is that if we create a plan and you stay internally motivated, then we can get there. We're more apt to get there if we have a plan. So the finisher program, we're going to give you plenty of time for you guys to start on that program and actually go through those first 5 pages or 5 days of work while you're here. But briefly, a mission statement is what you guys are going to be creating for 5 to 6 different areas of your life, being physical, education, family, spiritual, mental. The great thing about this finisher program and about TOPUCU is the templates are all laid out for you, so it's going to help you develop that program. If I said to you, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to write your mission statement for your life right now and go. How many of you would know how to do that? Probably not many adults either, right? So the great thing about this finisher program is there's a template there that's going to help you create that mission statement. And what is a mission statement? It's simply a plan for you to be who you want to be and have a vision for your future. Now, doesn't mean, as mentioned earlier, that what you think you're going to do is what you end up doing later in life, but we're going to create that plan of where you want to be. So it's who do you want to be and where do you want to go. Think of it as a GPS for your life. If you're planning on going somewhere on vacation, we kind of need to know where we're going, because what do we plug into the GPS if we have no idea where our destination is? Right? So think of your mission statement as a GPS for your life. Then your action steps are going to be those goals that you create for each area of your life. Called SMART goals. They're specific, they're measurable, attainable, results-oriented, and time-bound, okay? So for each of these 6 different sections of your life that we all have, you're going to write short-term, which are about 30 days, long-term about a year, midterm about short 30 days, midterm 6 months, long-term a year, and what we call big, hairy, audacious goals, which could be 10 years down the road, okay? But for all of those, we're going to write SMART goals for each and every one of those. We're going to figure out what your goal is, why do you want to achieve that goal, what specific actions are you going to take, and here's a big one that we need to think about. Along with the actions that you need to take, what are things that you need to give up to meet those goals? Because sometimes there's things we need to give up to meet those goals. Resources available, and then what does your life look like when you meet those goals? We worked with the Bedford High School football team last year. Amazing athletes. Their problem was they did not have enough of those amazing athletes that stayed academically, eligible. Yes, thank you. They were not academically eligible to play football. So they opted to put the whole football team through the program. And it was the first year in a while that they did really well. Of course, Norm takes credit for that. But they did really well. And they did really well because they had more kids academically eligible to play. And why? Because some of them knew that they needed to study more, obviously, because they weren't eligible. They were literally, one of their action steps that they had to give up, a couple of them, was to take TVs out of their room. And instead of watching TV at night for a couple of hours, they were studying more often. So when we talk about action steps you need to take to meet those goals, there's also there's sometimes, depending on the goal, things that we need to give up in order to meet those goals, okay? So what I want you guys to do is I want you to turn in your book. There's actually, your book starts at page 1, but I want you to go to the second page 1. It's about the middle of the book. Now the new books will go all the way through, but as Norm said, he was 235 out of 238, so he didn't know that you number the pages all the way through. All right, did you find it? It's where a GPS for your life. Okay, so the next page, we're gonna start on those templates, and I want you guys to do this in class now. It's gonna ask you things about you. Things that, and the great thing about this program too is that it always focuses on the positive. It never says, what do we do wrong? We're gonna pick out the positive aspects of your life, and you'll see where you can write those down and give examples. So did everybody find the page? Okay. So I'm gonna put this microphone up, and I want you guys to start working, and I'm gonna walk around. We're gonna start on that part 1, and I want you guys to get as far as we can through part 5 in the book. Your homework after this, and I believe your next class is January 7th. Reread what Norm taught you in lessons 1 and 2. Also read lessons 3 and 4, which he touched on, but he did not go into depth on those. And then you're gonna do the next section, which is on the back of your cheat sheet. You're gonna do days 5 through 8 as well. So 1 through 4 today, and then you wanna have days 5 through 8. And you can obviously work ahead if you want to, because I think you're gonna be really excited as you're going through the book. Any questions, comments? All right, I'm gonna walk around while you guys go through if you have any questions.
That's good. Can you help me, right? Okay, very good.
All right, so you all had a basic idea on what a mission statement and goals are. Again, a mission statement is a declaration of who you want to be in the 6 areas of life. And the goals are the action steps that you'll take to become the person of that mission statement. So when you're doing this, as you can now tell, we give you keywords to think about, look at, write down. That just kind of gets your creative juices flowing a little bit. Then we ask you to start doing some writing. Then we ask you to do some more writing. When you're done talking about your mission statement for family, for example, you might literally have a full page of information. Then we're going to, through the book, we're going to tell you how to squeeze that, squeeze it, and squeeze it. So when you're finally done, you're going to end up with about 2 to 3 sentences about family. You're going to talk about your physical, your mental, your social goals, spiritual goals, if that's applicable, and then for you guys, it's going to be educational goals. For some other people, it's vocational goals. For some other people, it's other things. So 6 one's kind of always the oddball. My point is, when you're all done, you should have 6 paragraphs, 2 to 3 sentences of a declaration of who you're going to be, and then 6 paragraphs in those 6 areas of what you're going to do to get there. So, so like for example, I weigh 205 pounds. I fluctuate a little bit, but I weigh 205 pounds. I modified the 3 white poisons. Y'all know what the 3 white poisons are? Salt, sugar, and processed flour. It doesn't mean I don't eat them. I'm moderated. I control it. It doesn't control me. I eat to live. I don't live to eat is in mine. I CrossFit 4 to 5 times a week in mine. So that's all I have left. So I wrote a bunch about who I wanted to be physically, but I condensed it down to just basically, if I just have those key bullet points, then I can always remember. One of my other ones is I don't change my belt. My belt size always stays the same. If my belt starts getting too tight, guess what I do? I don't buy a bigger belt and relieve myself and go, wow, I suffered, and if it's too tight, it hurts, I lose weight. So whatever you're going to do, you got to figure out, my point is this, write a bunch, and then condense it. There should just be a few statements that you can make. When I look at mine in the morning, and I would ask you to do this also, I would ask you to read them in the morning to basically get you excited about what you're going to do that day, and then read them that night, because that night only 1 or 2 things took place that day. Either you had a good, constructive, creative day, where again you made good decisions and you practiced good discipline, or you didn't. And if you reward yourself having a bad day, you're creating a bad habit. You can't reward yourself having a bad day. So at night, I'm reading them again, so I can either determine if I had a good day or a bad day. And I've got basically, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things I'm going to do for my goals. That's it. I've got it memorized, but you can actually read all of that in literally, 30 seconds. So when you're done, the whole point is this: make sure you write a bunch, expand it, and then bring it back down to a couple sentences. Make sense? All right. So our COO, Jerry Newsom, who you may or may not know, ran a huge company for a long time. My little pipsqueak thing of 1.5 was based in assets. He ran a company that actually was making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. So Jerry's going to wrap it up and tell you guys some things we need you to do.
Thanks, Mark. Actually, I'm not that smart either. I had a lot of good people that worked with me. So I'm just going to wrap up today. Thanks for paying attention to the TOPUCU team. If you didn't notice, I'm the only one of the 3 people here today that are not actively at CrossFit. Probably a bunch of a surprise to you, but they let me tag along anyway. So today, you've learned from Norman and 5 that they're going to be over the next few months. And we're going to teach you how to do what you don't want to do to become what you want to become. It's also going to help you understand that TOPUCU is all about transformation, not just information. So that you're going to see that theme throughout every one of these chapters you read through. You're not just learning stuff to read it on the page and learn it. You are learning to transform yourself. Today you started that transformational journey. Whether you know it or not, you've already begun. You've gone through the first session. So I've asked Dennis to come up and because this is where you're going to participate. And if you don't participate, I'm going to call on you, Bruce. We need to hear from you. So what we're going to do is we're going to capture some ideas. The benefit, first of all, it will be the benefits from today, things that you liked about what you heard today. Secondly, we're going to talk about the concerns that you might have, either with what happened today or going forward. And we'll end each session, each time, with this activity, the benefits, concern. I got 2 rules. The first rule is that there is no idea that's a bad idea. So if you have an idea, don't worry about what someone else in the room is going to think about it. We really do need to hear from you. The second rule is we need you to headline your response. There can be no compound sentences. You got to get it in concise in 4 or 5 words if you can do that. Okay. So let's start out with the benefits. Who has a benefit from being here today and starting this program? Anybody? No one likes the program. Okay. Oh, I'm just kidding. Just you can 8. We'll give you 8. How about double it? Okay. Self-discipline is a big part. Yes, let me see your name. Okay.
No matter, I don't know, I can't shorten it up, so you can shorten
Okay,
it up.
I'm good at shorting things up.
But
Just say.
no matter what your home situation is, you can still be successful.
Okay. I think that's good. No matter what your home situation is, you can always be successful. Anyone else with a benefit, something you liked about what you learned, what you heard? Anyone else? It could be an adult. Yes. Okay, so the things you learn in TOPUCU can be taken throughout your life. So it's a life plan. Okay? Anyone else? I'm not trying to milk this. Really want to hear from you, okay? The outcome is up to you. Okay, very good. Anyone else? Miss Rhonda.
Working hard will always pay off.
Working hard always pays off, Dennis. Working hard pays off. Okay, anyone else? Yes. Internal motivation is key. I didn't even tell you why I asked Dennis to help here today. There's 2 main reasons. One, I cannot spell. The second one is, if I did write it on there, you couldn't read it. It'd be not eligible, legible. So, okay, who else has an idea about why they like to be here today, what they liked about the program? Anyone else? Bruce, thank you, Bruce. I see that hand back there.
Kind of the way I would summarize something is it's simple but very powerful.
Simple but powerful. Very simple but powerful. Thank you. Okay. Yes.
Self-reflecting.
Self-reflecting. I'm really glad you're spelling that one there, Dennis. I probably missed that. Yes.
The idea of not, don't predetermine when the payoff will come.
Okay. A lot of good ones. I'm going to keep these. Give them to Norm and Kim. They're going to like this. Did you get that, Leslie? Don't determine what the outcome will be. Is that what you said? What?
When the payoff will come.
Don't determine when the payoff will come. Anyone else? Any others? Okay. This is a dangerous one. I know this, but what concerns do you have after hearing what you heard today and starting your finisher program? Does anyone have a concern about going forward? Anything? Okay. All right. Good. Okay. So you're concerned about thinking about long-term family goals? Because okay. Concern is creating long-term family goals. Anything else? Any other concerns? I didn't. Yep. Okay. Got it. Will I be able to make TOPUCU a routine? Thank you for that. So I may even teach you guys some new acronyms. So that what that would say is I wish I knew if I could make it to a routine. And the other one, I only know two. The other one is how to. That's just an H2. So when I use describe all the time, you don't need to write this down. This is probably not even important, but I'm telling you. How to, help me abbreviate. I wish, help me abbreviate. I wish I knew. So anybody else with a concern from today? Jim, no concern. You're good? What's that? All right, very good. So, in wrapping up, thanks for being here. We are honestly excited about walking with you all the way through this journey, helping you transform your life. And TOPUCU is going to do that. As Miss Kim told you, we've got a couple more things. I got it.
Why don't you wrap it up?
I am. I'm going to wrap up with what Norm was just going to tell me to tell you, but you need to, as Kim, I'm going to repeat what Kim said. Reread lessons 1 and 2. Go ahead and complete the first 4 days of the finisher program. And then also, you're not coming back again until January, so you have plenty of time to do this. We want you to read lessons 3 and 4 and work your way through the finisher program 5 through 8. So as a parting gift today for you being here and paying attention, over here in this box we've got TOPUCU wristbands for you to wear. We'd like to have you get one of those. We've got 3 different sizes, 7, 8, and 9. So depending on how big you think your wrist is, I think most of us would be maybe an 8. We'll pass those out right over there at the brown box. You have them back there? Okay, I was mistaken. Miss Marcia has them all the way in the back. Okay, so as you leave, make sure you get that and make sure you take your workbooks with you. Thanks for being here today. We appreciate it.
Okay. So, you have some more homework. And I'll repeat it. Complete lessons 1 and 2. Read lessons 3 and 4. And then read and complete the workbook, finish your days 5 through 8. So, we have engaged the TOPUCU group to train throughout 2018. We'd like to get all of the training in the first half of 2018. However, you don't just do TOPUCU once and it's done. So they will be working with us throughout 2018 and beyond, making sure that the investment that we're making in you, that you are fully taking advantage of it. I can tell you, so we have vice presidents here, we had
CEOs here. We have accomplished entrepreneurs here. They will tell you that what you're going to learn here from TOPUCU, number one, most 99% of us couldn't afford to pay for and go through this training on itself to begin with. In my 30-year career with Kraft Foods, I probably spent, I don't know, 3-4 months in classrooms specifically on these training programs. The SMART concept alone, our entire corporation spent a year training managers, and to roll that out to each employee. Mrs. Myers is here, spent most of her life in human resources. She can tell you what these training programs, the value of them monetarily for a corporation is phenomenal. But most importantly is what you're going to get out of it. I can tell you that SMART concept, my son just had his mid-year evaluation, and he sent me a couple of goals that his manager put in for him. And so what does his mid-year evaluation mean? It means, number one, he gets a rating. That rating translates to a raise percentage. That rating translates to, is he on a list of high promotables or high potentials for promotions? They also, for people who are labeled high potentials, they get put through special training programs within corporations and are future leaders. And he sends it to me, he says, what do you think? And I said to him, not one of these goals is a SMART concept. Therefore, they stink. And he said, you're absolutely right. He said, he said, that's what I thought. And he worked for Unilever, and he was trained and developed under the SMART concept. How can somebody sit there and evaluate you and give you goals and objectives and they're not measurable? I mean, how could you have an intelligent conversation with somebody on whether you achieved your goals, you were successful, or not? It's an unbelievable concept, and when you apply it to your personal life, forget about the business piece of it, which has, I just explained to you, monetary value to it, but in your personal life, and in setting goals, and applying a concept, the same principles apply. Okay? If you want to be successful, you will spend the time, you'll put the effort into these training programs, and believe me, it will pay, in addition to hard work, which I know is the key tenet here, in addition to hard work, understanding and putting these principles and this training into your life is going to make you hugely successful. Thank you very much. I look forward to 2018. It's going to be a great year for us. And I personally, all juniors and seniors, starting in January, Mr. Tranger and I will be setting up appointments to visit with you. I do it every year with our juniors and seniors. We spend about 15-20 minutes together. I start to ask you about what are you doing during the summer. I ask you about transportation, find out if you're going on vacation, how long you're going for. We start investigating job potentials and work potential. That's only the first. I'll do 2 or 3 meetings with you in the spring. And I would like to incorporate this in that, Mr. Tranger. So you'll be bringing your workbooks. I'll be looking, what I'm most interested in is what your near term, what your midterm, and what your long-term goals are. If you're struggling with any of that, I think I can help you with that. If not, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out who can help us with that. But I'd like to take a look at that. And that'll also help me when I'm working on the apprenticeship and internship part of the program. So, thank you for your time and attention. I really appreciate it. Keep in mind that the next session on TOPUCU is going to be January the 7th. Alumni. And what did you guys think? You, bless you. You're in college now. This is optional. How many of you would come back here on January 7th to do the following lessons? Okay, pretty much unanimous from the alumni. Good stuff. You think? Good stuff. Is it even more practical for you as you're in college? The answer is yes. So you may be sitting here as a sophomore going, I got a couple of years to worry about this, or I have to get serious about this now, or whatever. But like most things, when we have our alumni session, we have a session in June. We have a panel, 8 or 9 of the alumni come in. We step out of here, and the students are able to ask them anything they want. Drugs, sex, rock and roll, whatever. No holds barred. Roommates, costs involved, the whole bit. Food plans, the really important stuff. So I'm glad to hear that, and I hope to see you back here on the 7th, okay? Our holiday celebration. Mr. Tranger sent it out. You should have all checked your emails. You all got the invitation for the holiday. Okay, it's December the 17th, okay? Make sure you fill out the Google Docs, get it into Mr. Tranger. We need it in by that date so we can figure out the food. Mrs. V and her committee, Mrs. Bruna, they've got some great food coming for you. And we have a great speaker coming in for you again this year. All right, I think that's about it. Members of my OPCOM, who I asked to stay in about 5 or 10 minutes, can we meet over at that table over there real quick? Spend about a half an hour. I want to debrief on TOPUCU, and I want to get your ideas on going forward on a couple of things. Marcia, anything else? Tabitha, anything else? We good? We're good? Okay.
Wristband.
Yes.
Wristband.
Oh, don't forget your wristbands. And by the way, this is your chance to talk to some of the OPCOM members, talk to some of the alumni before you run out, okay? I'm giving you an extra 10 minutes here. Thank you. Have a great day. Oh, Mr. Tranger, for the TOPUCU people, we have a little gift for you. And thank you for coming today and all of your time and attention to this program. I know we worked light speed, and you guys did a great job. Thank you very much. Put your name tags in the books, please, and drop your books off as you're going over to get your wristband.